Thursday, May 16. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. The government has allocated $100 million for the trucking of water to areas affected by the worsening drought conditions. This was disclosed by Prime Minister Andrew Holness during a statement on the status of the Kingston and St. Andrew water supply in the House of Representatives Tuesday.
We have been doing trucking. Certainly I couldn't say enough trucking. I've looked at the budget. We have allocated somewhere in the region of $100 million for trucking. That figure, Minister of Finance, will have to be, I can't give a multiple, but it will have to be reviewed. It will have to be reviewed. Mr. Speaker, we have given out water tanks. We are in a continuous mode of providing water tanks. Now bear in mind, water tanks are not the ultimate solution because you still have a limited capacity of water, but at least you are able to manage water over a longer period if you have storage. So we are giving out water tanks. We have gone over 500 water tanks being distributed in the most affected areas, and we will continue to distribute. We will give to you. Well, we have distributed in 4 constituencies so far, and we will increase that number as we distribute. But it has been concentrated where it is most acute.
The National Water Commission, NWC, confirmed that its main water sources for the corporate area, Mona Reservoir and Hermitage Dam, are down 27.4% and 33.1% of their capacities respectively. The Kingston metropolitan area receives its supply from 4 main sources: groundwater wells located at the foothills around the city, that is Beverly Hills Long Mountain and Red Hills Chancery Hall; the Hermitage Dam, which supplies the Constant Spring and Sea View water treatment plants; Yallas and Hope Rivers, which serve Mona Reservoir and both the Hope and Mona water treatment plants; and the Rio Cobre White Marl system, which complements previously named supply sources.
The other issue that we have to pay close attention to as a parliament is this whole issue of climate change. This is not the first time that we have had this crisis. We had it about 3 years ago, and then we had it in 2013. Some people say it's the El Nino, but the truth is that our weather patterns have changed, and it is reflected in our rainfall and when we expect to get rainfall and the length of that rainfall. So there are some challenges that we have to bear in mind. But Mr. Speaker, we have to look at increasing our storage capacity for raw water. So this would mean increasing the capacity at the Hermitage Reservoir to allow for increased storage during the rainy period. What that means, Mr. Speaker, is that the present facility will have to be expanded. We will have to build a new facility, and the NWC is already scoping that as to what that will cost.
The Prime Minister also noted that National Water Commission is to explore other groundwater extraction possibilities for the eastern St. Andrew, St. Thomas mountain ranges. Minister of Science, Energy and Technology Favour Williams says 757 net billing licenses have been issued to Jamaicans since the pilot program in May 2012. Making her contribution to the 2019-2020 sectoral debate in the House of Representatives on Tuesday, the minister noted that in the 13 weeks since she has been appointed in the new post, she has signed 26 net billing licenses. Net billing is a facility that allows people to sell the excess power generated from renewable sources in accordance with a net billing license and a contract with the Jamaica Public Service Company Limited, JPS. Meanwhile, the minister noted that Jamaicans will soon be able to do electric power wheeling.
Net billing allows people to sell to JPS the excess power they generate from renewable sources. Since net billing was piloted in May 2012 to date, 757 licenses have been issued to Jamaicans. In my 13 weeks, I have signed 26 net billing licenses. The electricity regulations will be submitted for consideration of Parliament during this financial year.
She noted that JPS customers wishing to participate in this facility will be required to apply for an electric power wheeling license and an electric power wheeling contract.
Jamaicans will soon be able to do electric power wheeling. That is, they will soon have the ability to generate electricity in one location, and via an agreement with JPS, they'll be able to use electricity in a totally different location or locations. The electricity power wheeling regulations are being developed to provide further guidance to the sector. We are expecting to receive a consultative paper from the Office of Utilities Regulation, OUR, to start the process. It is expected that this will give us some sense of the pricing environment for power wheeling.
Chairman of the Government's Economic Growth Council, the ECG, Michael Lee Chin, has expressed serious concern over the rooms on the beach Seaga. Lee Chin, who chairs the government's Economic Growth Council, said the country could lose significant sums in investment should Puerto Caribe Properties Limited decide to back out of a 2017 land and beach deal in St. Ann because of controversy being fueled by suggestions of impropriety. Last month, former Contractor General Dirk Harrison tabled an unfavorable report in Parliament on the sale of state-owned beachfront properties located in Ocho Rios to Puerto Caribe, alleging that Government Minister Darrell Vaz improperly meddled in the deal. Vaz, the minister without portfolio in the office of the Prime Minister, has denied any untoward dealing. Harrison, meanwhile, said he was standing by the findings. Speaking with media at Jamaica House yesterday, Lee Chin said he was not pleased with the turn of events, with uncertainty surrounding the future of the deal and the billions in investment which could flow from it. If Puerto Caribe Properties Limited walks away from the deal, the property would be returned to the government for the same price for which it was sold, without interest. The Caribbean Maritime University, CMU, has defended its decision to employ former Member of Parliament for North West St. Ann, the JLP's Othniel Lawrence, as an advisor. The People's National Party, PNP, previously raised concerns about Mr. Lawrence and others they allege were being hired by the government while doing no work. However, at Wednesday's meeting of Parliament's Public Administration and Appropriations Committee, PAAC, CMU President Fritz Pinnock praised Mr. Lawrence's contribution in assisting the university to reach at-risk youth.
We have found that you have a new type of, quote and unquote, let me not put these very mild terms, individuals dealing with in society. They are not the norm. When we started with this program, under the CAP program with the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information in 2016, we found that we were using retired teachers who could not connect to the youngsters. Then we went for people in the coming out of teachers' colleges, they could not connect because there was a gap. So it was not until when we evaluated the program, we were finding that we have some hardcore challenges dealing with that most other tertiary institutions will run away from. We're not afraid to stand up to it, sir, because this is the mandate we got from this honorable house, right here, that we should treat to the young people of Jamaica, of which 70% of them we discard as unusable. But we have a group right now of 91 participants. Last week, one of them said to an associate vice president was passing and said to the youngster, "Are you okay?" And he said, "No, sir, I'm not okay." When he called him in his office, he was able to show him a phone that he was invited to go and do a hit job. academias in a traditional form are not trained and not equipped to deal with these. So what we're finding is that we have to now turn to politicians who know how to get these people out to vote. We have to turn to entertainers. We have to turn to people involved in sports. We have the deputy national coach of football now working with us. We have several persons on the program, and we have found results. Because this new skill sets now reside elsewhere. So this is the base on which Mr. O'Neil Lawrence was actually engaged.
Reports of Mr. Lawrence's $5.5 million contract with the CMU raised eyebrows after he was reportedly hired just months after then Education Minister Roel Reid replaced him as caretaker for the Northwest St. Anne constituency. PAAC members questioned how Mr. Lawrence came to be employed to the CMU, to which Professor Pinnock stated he was hired directly by the university.
This was not a permanent employment, a permanent position. We have projects that we do, and he was engaged for a particular project. The skill set, as I said, was needed for a project, not for permanent employment within CMU. He was actually interviewed like many other persons were. But we believe that the skill sets that he had, we chose him for that particular skill. And sir, we have the reports and everything. He has been working. He is still engaged with us, and he has been performing his job.
Professor Pinnock assured the committee that the proper procedure was adhered to in hiring the former JLP MP. The Bank of Jamaica BOJ is slashing the cash reserve requirement for the second time this year. On Wednesday, a statement from the BOJ said the move will free up more than $12 billion for banks and financial institutions to lend to businesses and households at lower rates and on better terms. The cash reserve requirement is the amount of money that deposit-taking institutions are required to hold at the BOJ against prescribed liabilities. It's being reduced from 9% to 7% effective June. The BOJ says as a consequence, the overall liquid asset requirement will fall from 21%, also effective June 3. National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang has said human trafficking may be a major contributor to the increase in crimes against children. His comments follows reports that 14 children have been killed in Jamaica since the start of the year. Dr. Chang said he has been having discussions with the security forces to make operational changes to address attacks on children. National Training Agency Heart Trust NTA is accepting applications for this year's Graduate Work Experience Program. Acting Senior Director of Community Service at Heart Trust NTA, Ronique Roden, said the program is targeting 500 graduates of tertiary institutions this year who will be given the opportunity to gain experience that is critical to their career development. She explained that the application process, which is ongoing throughout the year, is open to young people between 17 and 29 years of age and persons living with disabilities who are between 17 and 34 years old. Prime Minister Andrew Holness is expected to update the country on the medical condition of former Prime Minister Edward Seaga, who has been hospitalized in Miami since last week. In a release on Wednesday, Jamaica House said that Mr. Holness had left for the United States on a brief visit, during which he would meet with the former Prime Minister at the hospital where he has been staying and return home last night, after which a release would be issued by his office. PBCJ understands that Mr. Seaga is resting in hospital but is still seriously ill. He has been visited by a number of his close political colleagues. It is understood that he fell ill in Florida last Thursday while visiting family. However, his family has not released any details on his condition or the name of the hospital where he has been staying. Actor Daniel Craig will reportedly return to Bond 25 filming within the week after injuring his ankle as filming concluded in Jamaica. The Sun reports the 007 actor injured his ankle ligaments after falling during filming for a high-octane scene for his fifth outing as the iconic Secret Service agent. He is said to have flown to New York City for treatment. Daniel is reprising his role as Bond for the fifth and final time. Motorists should see a decrease at the pumps in the price of gasoline and diesel effective today, and that's according to the latest ex-refinery costs from Petrojam. 87 and 90 octane gasoline will be sold for $134.20 and $137.04 per litre, respectively, down by $1.64 each. Automotive diesel fuel will be sold for $137.80 per litre, following a decrease of 1 cent, while ultra-low sulfur diesel is down by 31 cents and will be sold for $141.49 per litre. Meanwhile, kerosene increased in price by 46 cents and will be sold for $117.83 per litre. Marketing companies and retailers will add their respective markup to these prices. The US dollar on Wednesday ended trading at Jamaican $136.34, down by 4 cents. According to the Bank of Jamaica's daily foreign exchange trading summary, the Canadian dollar ended trading at $101.48, up from $101.29, while the British pound sterling ended trading at $175.74, up from Jamaican $174.15. In regional news, the 15-member Caribbean Community Grouping has denounced moves by the United States to strengthen the decades-old trade and economic embargo against Cuba. In a statement issued following the two-day CARICOM Council for Foreign and Community Relations meeting in Grenada, CARICOM said it is concerned by the new measures announced by the U.S. government, which would strengthen the U.S. economic, commercial, and financial embargo against Cuba. The community denounces the application of laws and measures of an extraterritorial nature that are contrary to international law. The move is viewed as a retaliation against Havana for its support for Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro, who the U.S. is leading an effort to oust from power. In Trinidad and Tobago, a search is now on for 8 prisoners who escaped from the Golden Grove prison sometime between Tuesday night and Wednesday morning. According to Prisoner Commission Warder Gerard Wilson, 7 of the prisoners are serving time for murder.
Well, not more than 12 inches, all right, and in diameter, probably a square. So they took out a brick and they cut 2 bars, right? And well, without getting the facts and the preliminary report, I would assume that a hacksaw blade was used, all right? Which lends itself to the question of searching and vigilance, right? I mean, sometimes I'll tell you, I'm not making excuses, but sometimes hacksaws are very difficult to find, right? And, you know, we try to operate in a system that, you know, could do with some improvement in terms of the configuration, the overcrowding. Sometimes in a cell, like in that particular cell, you would have had 8 persons. Sometimes it's pretty difficult because everybody would have their own personal items. So it's difficult to do a comprehensive search all the time. So we do searches, we have bars and bolts, we do searches, you know, all the time. And sometimes it's difficult to pick up these things depending on where it's hidden. Right, so I assume that they would have used a hacksaw because the bars are cut very clean. My main concern is the safety of the public because I know these men and I can tell you they will be armed and dangerous, and it's not wise for the public to try to apprehend them at all. So that is my concern. I know them. All right, 7 of them are charged for murder, 1 for you know, attempted robbery, but it doesn't say that the person is also a threat. So that is my concern, Mark, that we capture these persons as quickly as possible, because some of them may have vendettas. We don't know. You know, we don't know the reason, the purpose for all of them try. Because sometimes you have escapes, 2 might go, 3 might stay, but for all of them to plan to go, it could be some discussion that would lead to something that we would regret.
A helicopter involved in the search for the escaped prisoners crashed Wednesday afternoon. The pilot and officers on board escaped unscathed. CNC 3's Mark Bassinet tells us more.
We were actually following the helicopter when we saw it disappeared over a ridge, and then we drove a short while up on the Arima Old Road, and some villagers told us they had just seen the helicopter crash. So we journeyed about a quarter mile up a river and found the helicopter here, the wreckage of the helicopter, you know, surrounded by a number of people in this clearing here, including police officers, regiment officers, prisons officers, as well as the prisons commissioner, Gerard Wilson, who only recently arrived on the scene to be briefed about the crash. What we can tell you is that they have information that one of the prisoners was in this area here, and I think based on that information, they were circling this area in the hope of zooming in on that prisoner. All 8 prisoners are still unaccounted for after escaping.
On Wednesday, Guyana's Finance Minister Winston Jordan presented a motion seeking parliamentary approval for $3.4 billion Guyana dollars for the country's election commission, GECOM. GECOM Commissioner Desmond Trotman maintains that the elections body cannot hold the polls before the end of November. We have more in this report.
The commission has already said, based on information coming from the Secretariat, that elections cannot be held earlier than November month end. And the Secretariat was hard pressed to arrive at that date.
But what if the CCJ explores the possibility of extending the life of the list?
Well, I'm not sure if it is that can be.
Arguments were made that the elections body should always be prepared to hold elections, but Trotman said this cannot be the case since the Secretariat needs money to do so, monies which have to be made available by the government through a parliamentary process.
There's a lot of talk that the commission must be in a state of readiness. That's all well and good. But there's no money for holding elections.
But the president has committed to provide.
The president has committed. But I suspect at some point in time, a formal request will go to the parliament for money for holding the election.
GECOM, in a letter to the president on March 20th, said it needs $3.5 billion to hold elections since monies currently budgeted for house-to-house registration cannot be transferred for other uses. The elections body has since commenced training of approximately 8,000 persons to conduct house-to-house registration process across the country, and the opposition-nominated commissioners have been walking out of meetings for a number of weeks over this. However, those commissioners have sat through meetings 2 consecutive weeks so that some issues can be addressed.
We're not walking out. We only walk out when they want to discuss house-to-house registration. That's illegal. We're not discussing that, and so all other things we have to discuss. We are commissioners of this commission.
In sports, retired sprint superstar Usain Bolt announced Wednesday an unlikely new outlet for his energies, the Paris scooter market. Electric scooters have become wildly popular but also controversial in Paris over the last years, helping commuters navigating traffic but also seen as a nuisance and a danger by others. The athletics icon's brand Bolt Mobility, which he co-founded, joins an already crowded market for scooters, which users pick up and park anywhere in the city via an app. 450 scooters emblazoned with his name are due to be deployed in the streets of Paris in the next few days. And that's the news on PBCJ. Thanks so much for watching.